Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. By using extreme macro techniques, it's possible to make an interesting picture out of the most mundane items. This picture was captured using a 4x macro lens. That's 4 times life size on the sensor in the camera. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so starting with the camera then. On the front of the camera I have this 65mm dedicated macro lens, and as you can see, as I wind this out, the magnification factor is shown on the barrel here. This one will actually go all the way to 5 times. But I think we'll probably end up using it at about the 4 times. So this is a full frame sensor in here, so if you were using a 2/3 or something similar, then you would actually get more magnification than is shown on the barrel of the lens here, as the sensor itself is smaller. Okay, for the rest of this I've got a flash sync trigger on the top of the camera here, and the whole thing is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to show the results as we go along. Right, so I'll just pop that on the top of this tripod. Now the next piece of specialist equipment that I've got is this stage. So by turning this control on the end here, I can move the carriage backwards and forwards a very small amount. One of the things about macro lenses is that you don't focus them in the same way that you would normally focus a lens. If you want to call it focusing, you're actually changing the amount of magnification. But if you want to keep the magnification the same and change the focus, you must change the distance between the lens and the subject. So having a stage like this is very important for doing macro work in general. Okay, so then we come to the subject, and for the subject I've made up this little piece, which is basically just a needle here with some thread going through it, and I've attached that with a piece of blue tack to the rest of this stand. So this way it's easy to move the whole thing around as one piece. So what I'm going to do is just place this on the stage, like that. Okay, so the next thing to do would be to turn the camera on, like so. And we'll just have a look at the settings that I've got on that camera at the moment, just on the software here. So at the moment I've got the shutter speed set to the flash sync speed, which is 1/250th of a second. I'm using an aperture at f8 at 100 ISO. So with those settings I'll just grab an image and hopefully it will be dark. There we go. So this is what we want. We don't want any contamination from the house lights affecting our subject. So with that little experiment out of the way, it's probably time to place a light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this small Profoto flash head, and I'm just going to place this in very close to the subject. So we're just going to pop this down here. I'm going to get that reasonably close to the subject, like so. Now with the flash head at this distance from the subject, the size of this head will actually act like a softbox. So although it's very close and I have no modifier on it, it'll actually give quite a soft light over the subject. Okay, so next thing to do would be just to turn on the flash pack here, like so. And just with an arbitrary energy level set, I'll just grab an image and we'll see what we get. Okay, so we're definitely getting something, but unsurprisingly, since I didn't line up the shot, it's all a bit out of focus, not quite in the right place, etc. So the next thing to do would be to line up that shot. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just wind the lens out until I get to somewhere around 4 times magnification. About there somewhere should do. And then using the stage, I can carefully just move the subject until it becomes in focus. It's very fine movements. There we go, something like that. So with that done, we'll just grab an image. Okay, so we're starting to get there. You can see from this that we've got a focus point which is about here somewhere. So I think that needs a bit more exposure. So I'll just take that channel up by, 2 stops. See what that looks like. We'll try that again. Yes, that seems to be a better exposure. I think we're in the sort of ballpark now. One of the things that you can see in this image is just how small the depth of field is. If you look at all these strands, these are more or less in focus, and here too. But as soon as you get any further than that distance, they all start to go out. Now, one of the ways that you can increase the depth of field is to increase the aperture. But you do have to be very careful when you do that with a macro lens. Let me show you what I mean. If I increase this aperture from f8 to f11, that's a 1-stop difference. So I'll add 1 stop to the exposure to compensate for that. I'll grab another image. Right, so you can see in this one that the depth of field has actually got a bit bigger, and overall we're staying reasonably sharp. So you'd think that if I now increase that again to f16, it'll get sharper still. So that's another stop, so I'll add another stop onto the exposure, and we'll grab that again. And what you may see in this one is that although the depth of field has got bigger, the actual sharpness has actually gone down. And this is a diffraction effect caused by having a very small aperture. If I go back to the previous one, it actually looks sharper at f11 than it does at f16. So what I'm going to do is take all of the pictures at f11, but I'm going to make a focus stack of several images in Photoshop a bit later on. Okay, so I've changed that back to f11, so I need to change this back to 1 stop under where it was, so that's on 5. We'll just grab another image just to make sure. Yes, that looks all right. So with that now being our baseline, what I want to do next is set up a light at the back here so that I can form a blue background like we had in the original image. So to do that, I'm going to use yet another head. So I've got another little head here, and this time it has a blue gel on it. So I'm just going to set this up so it's about here. Here we are. So I'll just pop this on this stand and point that straight at the subject. Like so. It'll probably need lining up, so we'll take a picture and just see what it's like. And also I'll need to adjust the exposure probably. Okay, off we go then. Right, well, having said that, that looks as though it's in just about the right position to me. The fall off is possibly a little abrupt, so what I might do is just put a piece of diffusion material just in front of this light. So here we are, I've just got a piece of diffusion material, and I'll just pop that in front of the light, like that. Okay, so with that we'll grab another image. So that's given me more of a graduation but it's also taking quite a lot of energy out of the light. So what I will do is just turn that up by maybe a stop and a half, something like that, and give that another go. Yes, this is really starting to come together now. So the background is looking okay. The foreground is possibly a little dark still. So I might just add half a stop to that. Just grab that again. Yes, that's better. We've got a bit more definition in here now. But the edge of this needle just along here is a little dark, and I think that could do to have a highlight running along it. So for that highlight, what I'm going to use is this piece of card. And I've just clamped it to a piece of wood so I can place it on here and just recycle some of this light back onto the subject again. So I'm just going to place this in very carefully. Just in here somewhere like that. Okay. I'll just grab another image. I'm taking the images with the software to avoid shaking the camera at all. So I'll just grab that via this button. There, that's good. So we've added this highlight down the edge. So now it would be time to refocus the image so that the bits at the back here are actually in focus. And then I'll take a sequence of images, moving the focus point forwards in each one. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just look through the viewfinder and adjust the position. Tiny little changes. Okay, so we'll just grab that. Right, so this is now in focus and the rest of it is going out. So that's the first of our stack. So now I'll just adjust the focus to bring it further forwards. We'll grab that again, not with the camera. Now move it another bit forwards and so on. So we're just moving it a very small amount in between each exposure. I would think in total we've probably moved about 0.5 millimeter. These are really very small movements. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it there. So now we have a sequence of images. And as I move through these, you can see that the focus point moves further and further back. Okay, so with those now captured, the next step would be to go into Photoshop and do the post-production. And I'll show you in that how I put the stack together. So here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up all the images that we collected earlier. So starting with the focus point at the back here, I have this one, and then as I move through these, the focus point moves further and further forwards, like so. So the first thing to do is to make a stack of those images, of those files. So just come down to Scripts, load files into stack, add open files, and we'll ask the software to automatically align them, like so. Just click on OK. Okay, so what Photoshop has now done is aligned each image and made a new file at the top here, which has all these layers in it, and each layer represents a different capture. So if I just go through these, you should be able to see that as I turn them off, the focus point moves. And just turn them all back on again. Okay, so what we need to do now is combine all of these layers. So I need to select them all. So the bottom one is selected. I'll go to the top one, hold down the Shift key, and just click the left button of the mouse, which will select all the layers, like so. So with all the layers selected, what I need to do now is get Photoshop to find all the bits that are actually in focus. So what I'm going to do is go to the Edit up here, come down to Auto Blend Layers, click on that, make sure that Stack Images is selected, Seamless Tones and Colors, and just click on OK. Good. So that has now selected all of the various bits that are actually in focus and made a mask of all the bits that aren't. So if I go down here and turn these off, you'll see what Photoshop has actually done. So as we move forward, we have various bits of the image that are coming into focus. If we put them all on together, we end up with a full image. And it's not done too bad a job. You can see that most of this is now in focus, and all of the eye of the needle is now in focus. Right, so with that now complete, finally all I'm going to do is just select a crop. So I'll go up here to the crop tool. What I'll do is just pick a ratio because I'm going to be using this for the video. So I'll pick 16:9. I'm just going to bring this edge in a bit, like so, and just on this other edge as well. I think it's quite good that this bit on the edge here actually is still out of focus. It makes the bits that are in focus more predominant in the image. So I'll just click on OK. And there we have it. That's my final focus stacked image of the eye of a needle. And just leaving the software up to the hard work of making up all the focus masks, etc., it hasn't done too bad a job. I think that's worked quite well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other pictures as they appear. Don't forget to click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.